Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whenever the fuck you're watching this episode. It's Backyard Chains brought to you by Backyard Sports. My name is Raul Herrera, and I appreciate you guys tuning in. It's been a couple weeks since I've been able to get an episode in. Life has gotten in the way, as it always often does. So again, appreciate you guys tuning in. Maybe having a special guest here joining us here later. And so I am just going to get right into it. I've got some beef with the UDisc World Rankings. I do not, however, have beef with Statmando's World Rankings, and it's partially because I'm a Calvin Heimberg stan. Obviously, you've heard me talk about it time and time again. Lots of things going on, but immediately looking at I need to pull it up actually so I can speak intelligently on it because I don't want to shit on it too bad without being correct. So first, I'm gonna start it off with a little praise. And Statmando right now has Calvin Heimberg as the number one disc golfer in the world. If you look at the disc golf world rankings on UDisc right now, you're gonna see one player in this top three who I genuinely have some concerns with. I don't necessarily think that he belongs there, and it's not because he's not a talented player. It's because he's not really relevant at this point in time in the season. He's been battling an injury, so on and so forth. So, anyways, without getting into that too terribly much, I'm just gonna go ahead and pull it up real quick so that we can have our opinions. Let me see if I can remember how to do that. This is what I get for spending so much time. Disc Golf World Rankings on UDisc. Here we go. So let's dive into it. Here it is. Disc Golf World Rankings. Gannon Buhr off of another chase card victory. This is the fourth chase card victory we've seen this season, which is insane. It never happens, and then this season all of a sudden happens 4 times. Seen it happen with Kyle Klein and Waco. We saw it happen with Gannon Buhr. Oh, I think I just lost some discs. Anyways, Senior, always a pleasure. Thanks for tuning in. So we got to see it with Gannon Buhr in Austin. We got to see it with him again at the Blue Ridge Championships. We got to see it with Simon Lizotte at the Music City Open in Nashville. And then we got to see it, like I had already said before. So it is with Kyle Klein and Waco. It is an amazing season already, just to see who is just the overall expansion of talent year after year after year. We've seen some big names kind of drop down, and some of them battling injuries. We know Eagle McMahon's been battling with some injuries, still kind of maintaining that relevance. Kyle Klein continuously on the rise this season, which is awesome. Anthony Barella performing a whelming performance. I don't know that it's under or overwhelming, but just whelming. We'll call it whelming. James Proctor dropped a little bit off this list here, 2 spots down to 15. But let me tell you, the effort that we are seeing from James Proctor this season, going full time, making the commitment to the tour full time, is just incredible, and it's paying dividends. Right, this man is shredding. He's on all the coverage. He has been on a televised card just about every single event that he's partaken in, which is awesome. So definitely seeing that. Again, my boy Vinny at 3 dropped a little off. He missed his first podium of the season this year. Just last weekend, missed it, taking 4th to Kyle Klein and Gannon, as well as Bradley Williams there in North Carolina at the Blue Ridge Championship. The one that I have some heartburn with is got to be Ricky Wysocki. Look, 2-time world champion, just recently signed the 4-year, $4 million deal with Dynamic Discs. There's no doubt that he's talented. There's no doubt that he is a top contender in the world. But here's the facts. He has not been consistent this year. He's been battling an injury. He's pulled out of a whole bunch of events. And I'll get to a new event that just happened today, was announced that he pulled out of. So you can, deduce if you're following the tour. But how on earth are we considering this guy sitting at number 1 right now when you have Heimberg, who has not missed a podium all season until this last weekend? Simon Lizotte already has a win. Paul McBeth continues to be arguably the greatest of all time. Chris Dickerson, now that the tour's continued out into his neck of the woods, he's going to be partaking. I mean, there's a lot of Nicholas Antelas had a lot of good rounds. Bradley Williams had a great, and Isaac Robinson for that matter, had a great performance last week in the Blue Ridge Championship. Ezra Aderhold has been on fire this year. He had a great performance in Waco. He had a great performance in Nashville. Adam Hammis, and we'll get to Kevin Jones here a little bit later. But yeah, I mean, just looking through this top 20 here, there's a number of people that I would consider to be over Ricky Wysocki right now. So I don't know how much of this is, the dominance index is taken into it. I haven't done a lot of the research as far as who is involved in what goes into this stuff, but I got to admit, it's a little disappointing. I think that's all I'm trying to get to. It's a little bit disappointing. Disappointed in you, discs, excuse me, in that world ranking. So interesting. We talked about the greatest of all time comparisons here, but interesting enough, let's talk about Chase and Kenny, right? So this is another great stat mando kind of perspective for you here. Ken Climo has, and I'm just going to pull this up again just so that you guys can actually see what I'm talking about. Hold on just a second. There we go. All right. So Ken Climo has 18 major wins all time in MPO. Paul McBeth, although he is halfway there to the world titles, has 17 major wins. So we talk about the ring debate with LeBron and MJ, right? MJ's got 6, LeBron doesn't. Do you want to make the same case here for Pablo? Do you really want to make the same case here for Pablo? Ken Climo is a 12-time world champion. Paul McBeth has 6 world championships. And look at and the same argument is made for LeBron that is also made for Paul McBeth. The talent pool that Paul McBeth has to compete against at this day and age is significantly more intense. And we're talking about guys that were throwing 500 and 600 feet were not nearly as common as they are now. I was at a disc golf course just a month ago, and I watched an 18-year-old absolutely nuke a 500 and probably 25-foot drive. And, here I am just pitching up for position, maybe 275, 300. I mean, this dude almost doubled my drive, and he's 18. Gannon Burr's a prime example of that, right? So Gannon Burr is a prime example. He is, this kid can bomb 550 and he's 17 years old. So the talent pool of what we're seeing in today's day and age is second to none. It's unlike anything that we've ever seen in disc golf in the history of the sport. And so that's got to carry some weight, right? It absolutely has to carry some weight. So, and I'm going to try to get a couple of things shared real quick and get this thing pulled up, but let's move on. Aside from that, we have an event coming up this weekend. And it's a major, and this is another really good major. Champions Cup, Chris Dickerson won that, his very first major, won it last year. So anyways, I'm presenting this out to everybody right here. Current UDisc World Rankings: Gannon Burr, Ricky Wysocki, Calvin Heimberg. Do you agree? Interested to see what you guys think about it. I don't know. I definitely don't agree with at least number 2. And I feel like the argument is at least there that Calvin could for sure be number 2, but arguably is number 1. Gannon Burr, again, all credit due there. He's got 2 tour wins this year. And he's got a major already. Calvin does not have a major. So there's a lot of things that kind of weigh into that stuff. So definitely interesting. So opinions of the Blue Ridge Championship course layout. I had a really good conversation with Luke Humphries earlier today, and I was asking him about some specific things, right? I was asking him about the course layout. One of the things that he mentioned was the pin placement, right? So the basket placement on the hillside, it's hack, right? So it's putting it on the hillside to where you have to lay out this perfect shot. In theory, sounds great, but after you do that a million other times, I mean, it becomes so redundant that it's almost boring to play, right? And then it punishes the player because regardless of how good or not good your shot, it's a lot more chance than it is anything else. And so that to me is alone in and of itself is pretty interesting to hear. And so I'm not sure if Luke is going to be able to join us tonight, but if he is, I'm going to be sure to ask him that because I feel like he had some pretty good input on that, especially having played the course. And I know he's down in Georgia right now trying to see if he can get onto the Championship Cup card or the Champions Cup card. I know that he ended up missing his qualifier based off of his performance in the Blue Ridge Championships, but I believe he was on a waiting list. So, anyways, hopefully we'll get something back from him soon to be able to get that in there. Anyways, I completely kind of glossed over this because this was actually pretty important. Let me pull this up one more time. I'm going to pull up the point standings because that was something else that needed to be spoken about. And something else that I was going to ask, was, how are we standing as far as, let's see. Yeah, that's the one. I want to know, just out of curiosity for the professionals, how much do these points actually matter to the players, right? Like I'm sure there's ego, there's validation, there's all kinds of things that come with, being a points leader. But before we even get into this right here, I want to show you the FPO. So let's look at the FPO because this is insane, right? So Kristen Tatar, sitting at 354.5, taking down another win. She also won at the Blue Ridge Championship, taking down another win, another person who is just allergic to the podium. And so just for the dominance index perspective here, we were talking about Gannon Burr being the number one, Ricky Wysocki being the number two. I want to show you the dominance index shown here on the FPO in the UDisc World Rankings. So take a look at this dominant index. Look at that. I mean, Katrina Allen, another world champion, two-time world champion, 51.28% dominance index, 129.86 dominance index. I mean, it's insane. She's missed one podium in the last 2 years, basically. The dominance there is unreal for the Estonian disc golfer. I mean, it's incredible. And something else, I mean, I don't see anyone else really standing out to that level. I don't see anybody else. I mean, it's like football is any given Sunday. I'm sure it's any given championship Sunday when it's time to be, to try to chase down the win. But when we're talking about world champions here, that is someone else who is poised to go from 1X, one-time world champion, to 2. That's the way I see that, honestly. So yeah, it's just kind of crazy to see. There was some other questions that I had about some folks that are on that list, and I guess I'll just let that go for now. But let's go back over to the points real quick because I do want to dive into this a little bit more. So looking back over the point standing, Calvin Heimberg with over 100-point lead in the points, right? So like I said, man's been allergic to not being on the podium. And in this week at Blue Ridge, man, if you watch the final few holes of this, it was a tough blow. They had managed to escape the weather all weekend until like the final 3 holes, and then it slowly kind of became a torrential downpour. And so I don't know if the wind's getting, the wind's blown out of the sails or what have you, but yeah, there was it was a rough ending there for Blue Ridge. So either way, taking fourth, either way, maintaining his strong lead in the points race this year. And, some familiar faces that I've already talked about: Kyle Klein, Gannon Burr, Ezra Aderhold, James Proctor, first full year on the tour. Cannot stress that enough. And this man is number 5 in the points rankings. Paul McBeth. Now, also, to be fair, Ezra has played every single event with the exception of Blue Ridge. Proctor, in the meantime, has played as many events as Calvin Heimberg and is sitting in 5th, which is impressive. Paul McBeth, He skipped a couple. He missed Texas State's. A lot of people did. Missed Blue Ridge. He's registered obviously for the majors, trying to tie up old Kenny. And then Joel Freeman, had a little bit of tough luck in Texas State's, even though he's tied for second. We had a conversation with Disc Golf Terry, the disc golf guy, a couple weeks ago, where we were talking about his demeanor, his behavior on the course. Chris Dickerson hasn't had a lot of events this year. He missed Texas State's. He missed the Las Vegas Challenge. He usually doesn't play a lot of the Western leg stuff. He did play Alamo. And so Music City, of course, Tennessee, he's going to show up, show out. Surprised he didn't win it. But, of course, Simon needed that Gibson guitar a lot more than Chris probably did. I don't know if Chris plays the guitar, but anyways. So Chris Dickerson takes 9th at the Blue Ridge Championships, and obviously he's registered as the defending champion of the Champions Cup. Simon Lizotte taking down 1st at the Music City Open. And then Kevin Jones. This is a guy who I genuinely have some concern for, right? There was a Statmando post that I saw get released today. Kevin Jones misses the Champions Cup qualifier, not making the top 8. Kevin Jones will miss his first MPO major since 2018. So I talked about it earlier this season, and it may have been around Austin, may even have been around Waco. But I feel like towards the end of last season and now the beginning of this season, he's been kind of quiet, and it's not for a lack of performance, right? So I feel like I think it's been a combination of a lot of things, but I think the best way to handle that is to go ahead and have maybe a teammate come in and weigh in on his opinion. And so with that, I'm going to bring in Luke Humphries to the show. Luke, how are you, buddy?
Man, Raul, good. Sorry about the delay.
No worries. So I just kind of went over a few different things, but let me just recap you because I did have some questions that I absolutely wanted your opinion on. So first one, just because I do kind of want to be a little petty, a little confrontational about it, is the world rankings, because I've got some serious fucking heartburn with this dude.
All right.
And maybe I'm reading too far into it. So let me pull it up just for reference. So the UDisc world rankings currently have Gannon number 1. I'm not even going to argue that.
Okay.
Not mad at it. Kid's been on fire this year. 2 tour wins, most recently this past weekend. Ricky Wysocki at number 2, though. That one just irks the shit out of me. I got to be honest.
Like a crazy or little. Hold on. Hey. All right. You got Gannon, you got Rick.
Yep. And then you got Vinny. Those are your top 3.
Yeah.
So let's just leave
that top 3.
You like that top 3. So you think Ricky should be remaining at 2 in the world rankings?
Yeah, I mean, he's just been hurt,
Yeah.
Here's the problem. Rankings, like how far are we accounting? Like at the end of last season, Rick was unbeatable. The way that he played in the Pro Tour was insane. You got to imagine it's going to take him a tournament or 2 to get back into it, coming back from the injury. So that's just my little argument, but go ahead.
No, 100%. And I have no doubt that when he's at full capacity, it's not going to take much for him to go back to being the $4 million for 4 years contract earning Ricky Wysocki 2-time world champion, right? So there's no doubt, but I do feel like these world rankings do have to have some type of like current relevance, because his performance this year has not been great. He's been battling those injuries. He's had to withdraw from a bunch of stuff. And then the latest news from today is that he's now unregistered for the Champions Cup. And, I can appreciate somebody trying to take care of the health, no doubt. But does that necessarily mean that as far as this number 2 ranking here that he belongs there? I mean, I feel like one could argue against that.
I couldn't argue with that statement.
Fair enough. So
what is the other ranking system that you were talking about?
So the other ranking system is the UDisc world rankings. Let me pull up the MPO for that real quick. How are you doing, Luke?
Man, I'm solid. I'm here in I'm Georgia. I've had a a wild time the past 3 weeks. There's a lot going on in my life, so it's been busy. Played some good golf at MCO. Felt like I played some good golf at Blue
Yeah, you did.
Ridge. I didn't really get rewarded with my good golf there, and so it was a little frustrating. And then came into the qualifying for Champions Cup, and that was like a crazy experience. A lot of pressure on each one of those putts. Kind of a rare instance, really, that we have to battle like that. And I hit the band like 6 times in that, just like, I don't know, maybe a little juiced up or something. I had a huge coffee before I went, and that's all I had. So that could have been it. Either way, I didn't play my best golf, but I was first on the wait list, so I got in regardless this morning.
So he's in. You're in.
Yep. Yep.
That's awesome. So we're going to get to see him at the Champions Cup this weekend. Love to hear that for you, Luke. Well deserved.
Yeah.
So be sure to check the ticker at the bottom, LukeHumphries.dg on Instagram. We do have a question from Gary Free Sr. Is the major being held in Texas? It is actually being held in Georgia. So Luke is in theater right now, being prepared to go slay that course down and hopefully bring in his first major win of his career, because that would be sick.
It would be super cool, man.
Absolutely. So, unfortunately, we're not going to see one of your teammates there. And I was just kind of talking to him before I brought you, or talking about him before we got into the show. So, Kevin's missing the championships qualification cup, not making the top 8. It's his first major non-qualification since 2018. And even just looking at his performance, this season, he's had a quiet season, but he hasn't necessarily had a bad season. He was second in LVC, 5th in Waco, 16th in Austin. And so then Music City and Blue Ridge kind of fell off there. So what is going on with Kevin Jones? Is he just having a quiet season, maybe getting in his head too much? Is he just, I feel like, is he just this, is he the sleeping monster that as soon as he wakes up, everybody around him is fucked? Is that more on par with what we're dealing with?
I think that's the Kevin Jones that we all know. I mean, he's capable of anything at any moment.
Right.
He's one of the best players. His skill set matches up with every single course we play. Forehand, backhand. He's fantastic. I don't know what's going on in Kevin's mind. I know that he came into the season, like you said, with a lead going into like hole 16 or something like that at Vegas. So he's playing fine. There's a lot of pressure on that Champions Cup qualifying match. Like I just mentioned, like some people thrive in it, some people don't do well. But at the end of the day, we have good days and we have bad days. And to judge it on one 8:00 a.m. round after we drove 5 hours the night before and played a crazy course for 3 days plus practice rounds, it was just a lot, I think. And some people fared better than others.
Yeah, and I think you in particular, you have an even crazier schedule because on top of that, you're filming skins rounds and then you're having podcasts yourself. You're interviewing people and you're doing your own thing for your own social media presence, and then what you're doing with GK Pro. It's really kind of impressive how you can manage to like do that and still manage to compete at the elite level. I mean, you're a top 50 player in the world and you're competing against the best disc golfers that this world has ever seen. We were talking about before you joined the show, I was making that Ken Climo versus Paul McBeth comparison is like LeBron James and MJ. It's like you can compare rings or you can compare quality of talent that you're competing against, right? They're just two completely different arguments. I think that we need to lose the term GOAT and start looking at the greatest of this time rather than the greatest of all time. So thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's well said. I think different eras can't be looked at the same. What Ken did was beat everybody that showed up to that tournament every single week, and he couldn't have done any better than that. He did everything he needed to do, and then and the way Paul's hit the clutch putt, I can't say that I really saw Ken doing much of that. It was a lot of stellar play throughout, but it wasn't like this moment. You got to summon something great, and then time and time again, Paul McBeth is stepping up to the plate and doing it. That is a different kind of greatness, and
ice in his veins, man.
Yeah, if Paul went back there, it's hard to say that he'd lose. But if Ken came here and the discs were the same, maybe it's hard to say that he'd lose too. And
right. I mean, if Ken came up and really started making his big pro tour debut in say 2010 or 2005 and all the way up to current, I mean, would he be equally as dominant. It's entirely possible. We'll never know,
Yeah.
but those are all hypotheticals. We'll never be able to
Right.
work.
I mean, when you see those old videos, and I love watching old disc golf. It's one of my favorite things to do. Drop back and see Ken Climo and the fire and the drive in his eyes. Like that dude wanted to win as much as anybody. You
Right.
couldn't say that Paul wanted it more than Ken. I mean, that dude wanted it so bad. He was willing to do a lot of things for it and did do that. So it's a
Yeah.
cool argument. And I look forward to getting Ken back into the game. I don't know if he's going to see this. I'm
Man,
trying to get a hold of the dude. I'm trying to get him on skins, actually. It'd be sweet to have him at USDGC. So I don't know if anybody talks to him or sees this, give him my number, tell him we want him on skins. He said something
dude.
about Eagles Crossing when he was talking to Yuli and uh, Brody the other day. So
That was a
what a cool,
really good interview too. Just seeing like, almost hinting that he was feeling kind of slighted from the game. And it's funny because I feel like the public image of him lately was that he kind of like walked away from disc golf and turned his back on the game. And then he's presenting this completely opposite perspective. And so I mean, I just say that he's already so beloved. Like I never got into disc golf at the time he was competitive, but I still have multiple 11 and 12x discs in my bag. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So like his influence is obviously there.
yeah,
So it's certainly interesting. I've got a couple discs with his name on it, and it's crazy that like I never was around to really watch him play. I've seen old coverage, and the fire in his eyes that you talked about. I've seen it, and it's very Pablo-esque, or
yeah,
maybe Pablo was Ken-esque, right?
yeah.
But yeah,
And it was
so
probably,
definitely.
go ahead.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say it was probably a little bit of both. Ken stepping away in the game, maybe not asking him as much or giving him as many chances. And yeah, I've only played one event that Ken Climo was ever registered at. I think it was the 2018 USDGC, and I believe he pulled out after a good first round or something. Just hard to play the full tournament these days, I guess. But
Yeah.
to have him back in the game would be good for everybody. To think that like Jack Nicklaus wasn't around while Tiger was coming up and witnessing like the growth of Sergio, and it'd be
Yeah.
crazy to think about. We need Ken Climo in this game for everybody.
100%. And there's no better time, man. Like this sport has absolutely exploded. I mean, COVID was like this huge just trajectory for disc golf. Like I would never have been involved in disc golf at all had it not been for COVID, had I not been stuck working remote and walked past a disc golf course in my neighborhood that I walked by every day. And then a couple of my buddies were there handing me a disc and said, "Hey, go flick this." And sure enough, parked it for bird my first throw. And I was like, "Oh, okay, I can figure this out." And then I probably carded 15 to 40 bogeys after that, but I eventually figured it out, and that's really all that matters.
Yeah,
So
it is.
we had a great conversation earlier today about the Blue Ridge Championship, right? So I was talking about how the final scores were sub 20 under par. I felt like the course layout was really kind of intense, especially with that hole 18 kind of being punishing, right? A lot of these island tight greens, landing areas, and whatever. And you had brought up a really good point about pin placement on the hills and stuff. So what was your opinion of that course layout, from everything from the fairways to tee pads, everything else?
Yeah, I'll start with 18. I think what we all want to see is an opportunity for somebody to do something great. And we kind of that situation occurred and that person wasn't able to actually go for it, which I don't mind what Bradley did. I think it was a calculated decision. He's here for the long haul. And it would have been a crazy run in a pouring rain with OB everywhere and a rethrow essentially if he didn't make it. So it was, a crazy situation. And in the whole 18, we want greatness to be able to be showed, or at least have the chance to be showed. So I think we missed an opportunity there. Super cool hole. I won't get into the details of what like changes I'd want to see, but it's not for me to say. I think that what I did want to see was probably just like a little less baskets on hills, and not that I don't get into degrading courses and course designers. Like that was the track that we had to play. That was the one that was set up for every single competitor. So I ran at some baskets and I paid the penalty for it. Missed a putt by an inch and it cost me three. and that happened a couple different times, and that was going to happen to everybody in the field, at least some people.
Right.
When you win a pro tour event, chances are you didn't roll as much as other people did. Like I remember being in the mix at Waco last year, and I hadn't had a single disc roll away, and that was the first time I'd ever played 3 rounds in a row at Waco without a disc rolling away, because a lot of those baskets are on hills, and
Right.
sometimes it's your week, sometimes it's not. And baskets on hills like that it's gonna be evident one way or the other how your week's going. So I think there's a chance to make that course amazing. That part of the country is fantastic. The disc golf community around Asheville is fantastic. It'd be awesome to be back there, especially on that property too. I mean, gorgeous venue, set at a couple thousand feet elevation, making it just like a little bit different of a game. But all in all, it's a good track, man. I like OB. I like penalizing. I don't like people advancing 400 feet to a good drop zone. That one didn't
Yeah.
make sense on hole 15 and hole 3, I believe. That was kind of like, it doesn't matter where I throw my drive. If I can get up and down from 225 feet, I save my par.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that was a bit weird. Hole 15 was a bit weird. But I can appreciate an experiment, and it seemed like there were some experiments this week.
Do you think that Bradley goes for it if the torrential downpour of the last 3 holes doesn't happen? Because they managed to
Yeah,
escape the weather all the way up. But like surely Bradley goes for that, right?
yeah, I think so. I think you just lose a percentage of your touch, and he calculated it like he always does. I mean, he's a super mentally strong player. Like I know that
The
he did the
doctor.
math in his head and was just like, it's not worth it, and laid it up. But you take away, maybe some wind, you take away the rain, you just seen a different shot, I think.
You got to love that kind of discipline, man. The choose or the decision to lay up and just, you're already they were talking about it on the live coverage. Like, is Bradley aware? Is he consciously laying up? And someone had responded was like, "There's no chance he doesn't know where he is on the scorecard right now."
Yeah.
So that just speaks volumes to his poise, his discipline.
Yeah.
The man's the doctor. I've seen him on skins. You've seen him in person. Just throw in some absolute, just unbelievable shots from 100 plus, and it's just effortless. Like there's
Yeah.
nobody. His touch is effortless, and it's totally
Mhm.
not effortless, but it appears to be. I mean, he's Doctor Smooth, man.
He's made it that way. That was
Yeah,
purposeful. All that smoothness, like that was purposeful. He's won 2 pro tour events, like 10 years apart from each other or something. The first one ever, and then last year. He's the reigning preserved champion. He knows how to win. If he thought that he had a good chance to win, I think he would have done it.
yeah. That's an excellent point. That is an excellent point. So, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take us over to the most important part of our show. So, we are a veteran-owned podcast, and so every single episode we dedicate to a fallen service member. And our segment, sponsored by Folds of Honor, that we like to call our Salute to Service. This episode is going to be dedicated to Army Private First Class John E. Brown, who passed away April 14th, 2003, serving during Operation Iraqi Freedom. He was 21 years old, Troy, Alaska, and he was assigned to 2nd Battalion, 44th Air Defense Artillery Regiment, Fort Campbell, Kentucky. And he was killed when a grenade exploded inside of his Humvee in Iraq. Army Private First Class John E. Brown. We have the watch. And now for the most difficult transition in our show. All right, let me get the correct. I have to switch over to a completely different format in order to get that one segment in. Anyways,
We're good.
so other than that, obviously, there we go, senior and junior here with the salutes. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. So, Gary Freeze is actually our other co-founder. We served in the Navy together. So, Anyways, so let me throw this in here real quick. I needed to get the other tour point standings up, so that will transition into my next question.
Go.
But before we get into this, I do have one random off the wall question. What is your favorite place to go rock hunting? Favorite place ever?
My favorite place ever.
Yeah.
I just climbed to this place called Mulligan Peak. I don't want to tell too many secrets because it's a pretty sick spot in Arizona, in a small mining town. It's kind of hard to get to, and then the hike is ridiculous. But once you get up, you can't miss. The agate there is insane. It's either that or it's the Oregon coast. I've spent a lot of time like at this place called Short Beach, and it's just a magical experience. You hit the tide at like 7:30 a.m. It's coming out, just displaying like fresh rocks everywhere. It's super special.
That's pretty awesome. We've my daughter is 9, and we got her one of those National Geographic kind of dig up your own agate kits for Christmas, and it was a really special experience with her. She was really kind of in love with all of it, and so I imagine that we're going to be doing some rock hunting here soon in Central Texas. So definitely some cool quartz out here in this neck of the woods.
I recommend it. I highly recommend rock hunting to anybody who wants a peaceful experience.
And there he is. I feel like I need to stop sharing real quick so we can get a good look at the man, the goodest.
Boy. Come on, Hogan. What are you doing? What are you doing, boy?
Oh man, the star of the show. There he is. Hey, Hoagie. Good to see you, buddy. I hope you're keeping Luke in line.
He's trying.
It's a full time.
Got to be on a leash tomorrow for skins. He hates that.
Oh,
so we had to go buy a leash today.
Yeah, you're not going to use your belt this time?
No, I was going to do some fishing line and like a duct tape handle or something, but we just went ahead and got a leash. We're not trying to make any enemies this week.
Yeah. I remember when you had to do that. God, what course is it? Was that Fox Run?
It was Hornet's Nest.
Hornet's Nest. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that was also in North Carolina, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a long time ago. That was like 2020 or something, dude.
I've been about this. I've been about skins. Trust me.
Wow.
I'm a fan. So, all right. So the latest news today: Ricky Wysocki no longer registered for the Champions Cup.
When did that happen?
Today.
Okay.
Statmando just released it today. Yeah. So boom, breaking news. Here you go. Backyard Sports.
There you go. You got the skinny.
Nice. So he's no longer registered for the Champions Cup. How much weight do points really carry to disc golfers? Because I feel like there's a lot of people. Like if you talk to, like I say, if you talk to, you have, but in the people that I have talked to and seen talk to Vinny, Vinny doesn't seem to really give a shit about ratings per se, but points. No. Yeah. How much does that really matter to a pro disc golfer like yourself? Does that actually carry any weight?
I think there's like different tiers of people that care about this. So there's like the top tier guys who want to win this points race. So like Calvin, Gannon, Paul, I mean, Chris Dickerson might be in that race, but like there's only 5 people that have a chance to win it. So those 5 people care about that because they can brag about that. There's probably like 4 others who think they can, but who won't. And then there's like a bunch of guys who want to be in the Pro Tour rally. So there's like that 25 to 50 range, that 25 golfers right there who have a chance to get into the Pro Tour Championship, which is guaranteed cash. It's going to be on ESPN. You have a chance to win, $30,000-$40,000. So yeah, I mean, Eagle's down there right now, but he won't be.
Yeah.
And then you get into a list of people who are, I mean, every one of those guys could win any week. They're really good dudes, but they also have inconsistent weeks as well, and it puts them somewhere in that 25 to 30 range, and that's like the cutoff, or at least it has been the cutoff. I think they're going to add some spots to the Pro Tour Championship in the future, but you look at it right there, and not included Caleb Visca, Ricky Wysocki. I'm chilling on the bubble. I've skipped a bunch of events at this point, looking to make up some in the back of the season. I'm playing pretty well thus far. What do I got?
I
Yeah.
think you're playing really well, man. I had you as the early favorite, anyways, to just repeat in Waco because last year in Waco, man, that is one of my favorite perform. Like not just from you, but ever. That was one of my favorite coverages to ever watch. Is just to watch you calm and collected, just put on a fucking clinic, dude.
Thank you, man.
It was lights out golf, man.
I appreciate it. And we actually drop a bunch of silver series. You can't have that many silver series. So I'll be able to play. I'll be able to pick up points on people who played a bunch of silver series stuff and won't do any better. So I'm chilling. I'm looking good. Not dissuaded by that 53rd. And then Nate Sexton, Chris Clemens, Prezi, Fish, Jakub, Emerson. These are all ridiculously good disc golfers.
I
Trying
just
to make
realized
that
this.
top 32.
Drew Gibson's got one event this year.
Yeah,
Is
wild.
he nursing an injury? What's happening? Because I didn't
No,
see him. I didn't see him in
yeah.
Waco. Come to think about it.
I mean, I'm sure. Wait, that is weird. He wasn't at Vegas.
He was.
He
That was
must
his only event.
Oh, okay. He's Vegas. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, not liking Waco, I understand. Austin's a brand new course. Texas State's was a silver series.
And another
Music
brand new course.
City is like a slosh fest, known to be. So
Yeah.
I think that he could just be gearing up for a big season. A guy like Drew Gibson doesn't have to worry about getting into that top 32. He's consistent in the way that he handles courses is, second to none. He'll be shredding by the time that kicks off.
For sure. And he's also registered for the next 10 events after that. So he's,
Mhm.
he's seems like
Okay.
an intentional break.
Yeah. Yeah. Start the season off a little slow, have juice at the end. That's a good game plan. And yeah, Nicholas, that guy's a freak. Almost took down the USDGC last year. He'll be there. He's going to jump a bunch of people. So
And he's a
everybody,
stud.
yeah, I'm not thinking I'm going to beat Nicholas in the points race this year. I mean, some people say
Yeah,
you got to have blind
that's
confidence. I've just got blind realism. That guy is one of the best frisbee throwers on the planet.
there's definitely a big difference between confidence and being a realist.
Mhm.
I don't think you're being negative in saying that. I feel like you have an idea of where you line up against somebody like Nicholas. And
Yeah.
although I could I would like to disagree with you. Because I feel like, again, if we see the Luke Humphries that showed up in Waco and then what we started to see this year in Texas and again in Music City, I mean, I feel like you're capable of being that guy.
Yeah.
So don't short yourself, Luke, is all I'm saying. You're that dude, and don't let nobody tell you different.
My guy.
Kevin Kiefer, another one. He had a really great season last year. Kale, that's another.
Yeah.
That's an excellent point. Chris Clemens with the most disgusting lefty forehand I've ever seen in my life.
It's stupid. It's so good, man. He can do
I
it
want to see it
standing
in
still
person.
too.
I know. I've seen the videos, and I want to be near it so I can hear it. There's nothing I enjoy more than hearing a disc leave someone's hands.
Yeah,
That
he's not
pop.
like a huge dude either. I feel like his hair makes him seem like he's bigger than he is.
How tall is he?
I mean, like 5'9".
Oh wow.
I think he's about 5'9".
See, like Gannon Burr, Vinny makes sense. They're tall, lanky.
Mhm.
They're human
Mhm.
slingshots, right? So
Mhm.
it checks out.
Chris Clemens got that timing, got that pure athleticism.
Emerson Keith's first year here with Lone Star Discs, and he's had kind of a tough start to his season. I expected him to be a little bit further out, but he's registered for plenty of events coming up, and I'm sure they'll come into it. Maybe it's the adjustment to the new plastic. Who knows? Nico LaCastro back after his suspension. That's another thing, and he's now in the top 20. Bradley Williams up 8 spots in the points race after that brilliant clinical performance at Blue Ridge. And again, like I felt like all of that was a conscious decision. We talked about that going into hole 18. I mean, he's just too calculated. And I feel like whereas you saw Kyle Klein slowly kind of unravel, where he made one poor choice after another, and some of it was bad breaks, sure, but his response to the bad break was just like, you gotta calm your head, man. Calm heads prevail. So, anyways, all of this talking from a guy who can barely break 325. So I'm not gonna say too much. So So then that's it, right? So points don't necessarily matter to the folks that aren't in that like 10, 15, range, 10 top 20 range. Those guys are probably not going to be too terribly interested in those points.
Everybody's interested. Don't get me wrong. Like
Yeah.
everybody knows about where they stand. I think I've got to be one of the people that looks at it the least, and I still check it probably on a biweekly basis just to kind of see what's happening, what's going on.
Well, you also had kind of a reputation for not doing a whole lot of like practice putting and things like that. And this was,
Yeah,
I guess, a year or two ago, right? I watch coverage a lot.
nice,
So,
nice.
anyways, I try to keep up. So,
Yeah.
what have you done this year that you feel like just in the off season, do you feel like you've made any kind of changes to your routines, to your, do you go out there and you putt? Do you go out there in your practice rounds and get that time in learning, where your good landing spots are? Or,
Yeah, I love the practice rounds. Usually have a little cash on them with somebody that I'm playing with, but we're throwing extras and we're checking spots and stuff. But no, I'm still not trying to do too much in the morning. I know how to golf. Didn't forget overnight. I don't have amnesia when I sleep. Neither does anybody else. They just it gives them confidence. Do what gives you confidence. What gives me confidence is not throwing errant shots in the morning. I don't want to mess up. I don't want to I just imagine this blank canvas sitting on this easel. I get up in the morning and I'm not trying to write all over it before I paint, you know. Uh,
yeah, that's an interesting perspective. I got you. You're not trying to start fresh in the morning like that. You want to make sure that you're just going into it at your own pace and what you're comfortable doing. Everybody
yeah.
has their lane.
Yeah, if I do it that way, I ease into my round. I'm not really aggressive off the bat. If I'm fully warmed up, a lot of times, like I am on the fifth hole or something, maybe, then I'll get aggressive on the first hole. If I've already thrown a couple bombs in the practice field and then I'm feeling my discs or whatever, I might make a mistake early. I might just that's one of the things I want to do in the first three, 4 holes is just not make any mental mistakes
Yeah.
or any mistakes in general. If I don't
Yeah.
get the birdie, fine. But giving away strokes or making stupid decisions, it just translates into a long round.
Yeah, even if it means you take par on the first three, as long as you're getting into the motion of the round early. Because I mean, ultimately, if you're playing your cards right, you're making the cuts every time. You got 3 straight rounds, 3 straight days, and it's a marathon, not a race, right? So it's you're not trying to get every single birdie you can get. You're just trying to ease into the card and then from there build your momentum. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Yeah, man. Yeah, and I probably have less time to do that nowadays. I mean, the scores are so low that you really can't take holes off. People that play them for par, you're kind of giving strokes away because that's an easy birdie for AB or Ezra or 25 other guys.
God, I feel like everything's a fucking easy birdie for AB. That's ridiculous, dude.
Yeah, we got him on skins tomorrow. I can't wait to watch how he destroys this place.
I mean, he's gonna shred.
Yeah, we got
And
Simon, Corey, Feldberg, and
nice.
yeah, it should be fun. I think
I like
Corey's
I like seeing Feldberg out there too. Again, just like let's get Kenny out there.
yeah, Feldberg's not too far away. He plays this place as good as anybody. This is a sleeper right here. If you got, I don't know, your pick or whatever, grip 6 picks, if they still do that thing, put
They do.
Feldberg up there. He can shoot 6-7 down every single round, end up top 15, super easy. He shreds this place.
I'm just now getting to the point where I'm shredding my home course. Keep in mind, half course, it's 9 holes. Longest hole's like 260 or something like that.
Okay.
Played skins yesterday. Took all 9 of them, dude. It was my first full sweep. It felt good.
Yeah.
Felt good, especially when you have somebody arrogant on the card that's just running their mouth the whole time. You just look them in the eyes and say, "Shut up and pay me," as you cash the bird. Feels good.
Yeah. That
Sometimes.
feels good in every language, every sport.
Yeah, it's universal, dude. Yeah, it's just it's just like Steph Curry walking away as the 3 goes in from fucking 35 out. From the logo. Always feels good. So,
Simon got 47th at Las Vegas. That's crazy. He went 47th, second, first. That's wild. I was playing with in the group in front of him during our practice round today, and he was like 6 holes into his round, and he was like, I've birdied 15 consecutive holes. Because he's like going back to Music City when he birdied the last 8. He's like adding the 6 he had just got, claiming that he was like on a 12 streak or something. I don't remember what he said, but I think he probably shot close to the course record today. And it was like a 5-hour round, dude. It took the slowest practice round I've ever played in my life, dude.
And you were playing behind him, so you had to wait?
In front of him, so I saw him on every tee box.
Oh,
He'd walk up and watch me throw a terrible tee shot because, yeah, not motivated after 15 minutes of sitting around. It's just a bad way to do it. I think the best rounds you're just kind of cruising or whatever, but yeah.
I'm definitely a man of pace. I don't enjoy, and it's hard to tell because I'm 6'2", 250, but I definitely don't like sitting around. I don't like sitting around and waiting for people to I asked Terry about this, so I guess this is probably a good question for you. If you're on the card with Nico, and maybe you have been, you see him take that long. Gannon, another one with that reputation, right? With that long time to step up to his putt and make the putter. You calling him out on the time violation?
I played with Nico final round of Waco, and on hole 14, 15, I'd seen enough. He took like 45 seconds, laid it up, basically hit the bottom. And me and Nico are great friends. We do a lot of stuff outside of disc golf together. And I think outside of disc golf, people would love Nico. He's hilarious. He's caring. He loves his friends. He loves life. He's a really cool dude. But
I think he gets a bad rap for sure.
I mean, he just gets all up in his head. And after doing it for like 10 holes in a row, he's just like, he slowed the pace down. That round, he started out super quick, hit some putts, and then he slowed down and started missing putts and then taking longer and whatever else. And he freaking did that. And I just told him to hurry that ass up, bro. Like, we're not doing that today, dude. And honestly, it'll help him too. And he knows it. At the end of the day, if you take 45 seconds over a putt, you're not helping yourself out, dude. The people that walk up to the putt and want to make it and do it in the least amount of time because they're ready and focused, those are the people that make putts. And he would do the same. And in the moment, it's way easier to say it now than it is to do it then. But
yeah, for sure. I mean, look at Paul McBeth's putt in Worlds last year. That wasn't a 45-second step up. He walked up, went through his motions, and then drained it from 90. And it was like, oh, yep, he's still the best in the world. You know?
Yeah. You watched Isaac Robinson the whole year last year, draining circle twos so fast, man.
He's so clean with it too.
Walk up there and lock in, dude. Too many people are like, oh, this needs to be right and that needs to be right. And my hand is sweaty and my putter is cold. And like, dude, if you're really good, what?
Are you a chalk bag guy?
No, dude.
No, you don't chalk. I can't.
That's
I don't
just
see the point in it.
Yeah, that's just.
I'm the opposite. I'll actually kind of like a quarterback walking up to a football. I want the grip.
I do a little put it on there, yeah.
But gross.
No, man, no, that's all extra stuff, and it just like creates something that you have to have. It's like chapstick, dude.
Yeah,
but you use chapstick all the time, your lips get more chapped.
That's such a great comparison. Yeah, dude, it's all a scam. It's all a scam. It's like insurance in general.
I'm sorry to all the chalk bag companies out there.
Hey, listen to the Oakley family. We love you. No disrespect. So yeah, and I do appreciate, however, Gannon's chalk bag win read, where he throws it up, sees where the chalk's. I like that. That's actually cool. Kind of smart. I dig that.
It's a new take on grass. I dig it. It's not fresh.
Still not gonna chalk bag, but I can appreciate it. So honestly, the last one I really wanted to talk about was just James Proctor. I talked about it before you hopped on the show, but man, what dividends is that paying out this year? His first full year on tour, completely committed, and this dude is shredding. So wins NWC, 6th at Las Vegas, 13th at Waco, 10th in Austin, 25th in Music City. So on a little bit of a downward trend, but let's be honest, Nashville was a fucking swamp. And Austin was a new course. So Waco is brutal to just about anybody. I mean, I think that's what makes your round last year so incredible to me, was that like the wins were not taking it easy on anybody, and you were still managing to win, to read those wins correctly, especially, forgive me, because I don't know the exact hole number, but it's the one where it's a placement shot up to the top of the hill that goes down and to the right, into that open kind of bay area. And anyways, that one right there, that approach is just, it's incredible. I think it's
Oh,
a par
17.
four. That might be 17. Yeah, it is
Yeah,
17.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
dude.
I mean,
Yeah,
those,
trusting it over that water with the wind blowing. You just gotta have a stable frisbee for that shot, bro.
I am shitting my pants just watching it. You know what I mean? And I haven't had a chance to play Beast, and it sucks because I live less than 2 hours away from there, but I definitely need to. But yeah,
Good
James
strats.
Proctor is really doing his thing.
Yeah, man, he's so impressive. First thing you think about when you see him in person is just like, dude, that's a big dude.
Yeah.
He is a big guy. He's like, he
And
just
he's
looks
not
like an athlete.
lanky. Yeah. He's what, 6'4", 6'5"?
Probably, and he's 6'4" in those shoes he wears. I bet he throws it a mile. He forehands it a mile too. He claims he doesn't forehand, but I mean, I haven't seen him throw a bad one. So
There you go. You heard it
he's
here first.
impressive, dude. Really good. I remember in what was it, 2021 Masters Cup? He barely lost to Adam Hammis. He was like in the lead or had a putt or something at the end. I
Mhm.
mean, he was right there, and from that moment on, I knew he was for real. He's doing so much stuff too. Um, has been doing so much stuff. So to have him out here with his full concentration on touring, we're getting the best version of James Proctor that we've ever seen.
And the open bag, right? Like, because Infinite is an open bag in general, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So
He's
that's just a
chucking
different.
AJ destroyers and yeah, whatever you want.
So you've been a pro since 2018, right?
19.
19. Okay. And so how long have you actually been playing disc golf?
I started when I was 27 or 28, so like 8 or 9 years. So like I guess yeah, 2015. I started playing serious in 2017 and then 2018 I started catching some flack. Yeah, I got my high rating from playing C tiers in Dallas with my shirt off and my dog present off a leash. Like everybody thinks that I was just like killing it or whatever, boosting my amateur rating. Like I had no idea about what was going on. And
And here you are, just a shirtless hippie and his dog throwing plastic out in Dallas.
yeah, that was like less than 5 years ago.
There's nothing wrong with that, dude. What a come up. And here you are, shirt, still got the dog.
Yeah,
Everything's going good.
I got a shirt on. Yeah.
And you got a nice pretty rock around your neck too, which is sick.
Yeah, this agate that I found at that Mulligan Peak spot that I was telling you guys about.
I
don't
saw
know if
that.
we'll be able to see, but it's blue and red, and that wasn't the best, but yeah,
That's awesome.
needs to polish it up.
Did you polish that yourself and then just have like a jeweler?
So I bought the setting from a Tibetan dude at the gym show in Tucson. It's like the largest gym show in the world, and popped out the turquoise that was in there, and then made an exact replica of that turquoise with this agate, which came off of like a big piece that I cut up with a tile saw I bought from Lowe's. So I cut a slice, and then I picked out the portion I wanted and like trimmed it, and then I went through the grits from 100 to like 8,000 and gave it that shine.
There's just so much more satisfying about knowing that you did that. You know what I mean? It's not something that you purchased. It's not just something you found the rock and you gave it to a jeweler. You did that yourself. Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Something to be proud of, my man. Lots of things to be proud of. You're a busy man. You got skins. You got a tour that you're responsible for. My God, I can't imagine the pressure. How's van life treating you?
It's good. It's good. I mean, I'm doing that B&B life more and more, which is nice. I have
There's
the bed in
nothing
my
wrong with
van
that too.
Yeah, but the GK guys, who I stay with a lot, they're upstairs currently, and we all get a B&B together. Kev will get down sometimes. Matteo stayed with us last week. Jake Hebenheimer's kind of come under our wing a little bit. He's one of the ridiculous throwers of our game.
He's a guy with a horseshoe putt, right?
Yeah. He led the field in strokes gained tee to green in Vegas. He's like one of the best throwers of the disc in the game, man. He's got 6 bills on lock. His nose angles are insane, forehand, backhand. If he could figure that putt out, this dude would compete for world championships.
Yeah, I remember seeing that on coverage last year. A lot of people, whether it be Gatekeeper or anybody, Jomez, They kept talking about that. Like, it's kind of his biggest Achilles heel is the putt. And
Everybody's.
but yeah, I was like, that's not really news. That's everybody's.
Yeah.
Everybody struggles to putt unless you're a, you know, fucking Calvin Heimberg or a, Gannon or any of these guys that we saw up here in that top 10, top 20.
Yeah, if you're winning tournaments or you're like number one in the world or whatever, you're probably like putting the best in the world too. There's a direct correlation between how you finish and how you're putting.
Right. Yeah, one of the old heads that I play with used to compete, amateur all the time whenever he was younger, and he always said that you drive for show, you putt for dough, and that's I'm learning that the hard way because I went and played veterans with him in Arlington and got absolutely fucking annihilated. I beat him off the tee every time, but on the putt, it was just embarrassing. So maybe
people like throwing 550. It's really cool. One of the things about Gannon Burr that makes him a killer is that he likes making putts. People like different parts of the game, and liking driving and throwing 550 literally doesn't matter, dude. It literally doesn't matter. You have to get it in the basket. And the guy that wants to and actually likes to get it in the basket is going to win.
And that's the guy you got to worry about, right? Like, that's the guy
dude is a boy.
Yeah, it's true. He's a whole ass minor, Yeah. He's a whole ass minor. He can't buy nothing. He can't even vote yet. And my man's taking down majors. He's got it all.
He's wild, man.
He is wild. Luke, man, it is such a pleasure to talk with you. I appreciate you joining me on the show and talking with me for a little bit and just kind of letting me pick your brain and stuff. Do you have anything going on in your life that you need to promote on our like tens of viewers that'll watch this episode?
Dude, to all you guys out there, I appreciate the support. It's a crazy journey. If you want to visit LukeHumphries.com, grab some swag. That's where I keep my stuff.
Definitely. I need that man and his dog disc for sure. I've seen that stamp for like the last year and I need to cop some of that plastic, and it's just going to go in a bag in the drawer, and it's going to go up on the wall when I get the display built.
Well, if you make it to my boy's shop, Tree Love Shop in Dallas, Texas, you can get yourself a free one. Just tell John that I said so.
I am heading up to Arlington at 4:30 tomorrow morning, so I might have to take you up on that. Anyways, Luke, such a pleasure, man. Thank you so much for joining. And for everybody watching, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Be sure to tune in next Tuesday when we debrief the Majors Champions Cup, where we'll get to see our very own Luke Humphries here joining the show. Hopefully throwing down and, making the cash line is always the important one. Drive for show, putt for dough, baby.
It's a big one. Thanks for having me out, Raul.
Yeah, man, Luke, have a good night. We appreciate you guys tuning in. My name's Raul Herrera. Got Luke Humphries with me, Backyard Chains, brought to you by Backyard Sports. Fucking out of here.